Well, hey, I am very excited about today's interview. I'm joined in studio by Kevin Allen, and if you are familiar at all with the Riverside real estate market, then you know Kevin Allen. He is something of a legend for his consistency, for his work in geographic farming, for the level of service that he brings. I really could go on, and it's a pleasure, but I think I've said enough, and so without further ado, Kevin Allen. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on. Okay, full disclosure, this is our second take because the audio recorder died a second ago. So we've prepped a little bit. But so, Kevin, I'm excited to have you in here today because I've had the opportunity to get to know you over the last year. And I love your business. I love the mindset that you bring to it. But let's start right at the beginning. How did you end up in real estate?
I've always kind of had an interest in homes. Even as a little kid, I collected keys. And one of my first jobs was riding my bike and delivering flyers for a realtor at a penny a house. And so there's always some interest there. Loved maps as a kid, drew my own maps. So as life went on, I studied and served in the church for a long time with youth. And when there was a career transition there, God seemed to be opening up the door in real estate. So I went for it, took the exam, and jumped in. At the time, I had 4 kids, so it was an all or nothing sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Now, this is something that was about 14 years ago. You had said previously. The market at that time was not like the market today.
Correct.
Give me some insight into that.
So. The market at that time was very much tilted towards the buyers. There were a ton of homes on the market. At any one time, I could show my buyers 25 homes that were available. The market was tanking. The prices were going down. There were bank-owned homes left and right. And so when I jumped into the business, I just jumped into doing open houses because that's what was available.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I remember from that period was you would think, as a buyer's agent, it would be a dream come true, right? Because there were so many houses on the market.
Sure.
But even there was a lot of competition for those homes with investors and cash offers, and so it was an instant success.
Correct. Yeah, it still was a lot of work.
Okay.
It was a mindset too. As the market was going down, buyers were unsure if they wanted to buy something because what if it was $20,000 less next month?
Right. Yeah.
So,
oh, absolutely. It was a wild time. I remember representing buyers, and they would be just so heartbroken because they'd be in with their best offer, and someone would come in with cash and like a 10-day close,
Sure.
And they would run with
which
that.
in one sense that's similar to today's market.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, absolutely. So I alluded to one of the things that you've done really successfully over the years is geographic farming. Tell me a little bit about that. When did you get started in your farm? How long did it take to get traction? Share a little bit about that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I started about 10 years ago and just dabbled in it a little bit here, a little bit there, and took some classes and realized that over time, it's between the classes and just trial and error of my own, how to be consistent, how much was too much, how much was too little, when were the best times to go out, and just developed it. But it took about 3 years to gain traction.
Okay.
As far as it going and actually developing into some listings and some sales.
Right. Now, 3 years to gain traction. Outside looking in, it seems like a long time.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you, what sustained you? How did you stick with it? Why was that the thing that you felt you were supposed to be doing?
Yeah, it felt like that was something that I was wired for. I enjoy being out with people and just blessing people as I walk through neighborhoods. It's great to be out in the sunshine and the wind and to, hear the birds. It's a great time. I've got time actually personally to even meditate and pray between houses, and so to me it's a much more relaxing atmosphere that fits with the way I'm wired.
Yeah, I love that. It's not everybody's meant to do everything.
Absolutely, and door knocking and getting out in the neighborhoods is not for everybody either.
Right,
so.
Right. But for you, it's a very life-giving thing.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And you make it sound wonderful because honestly, the idea of going through a walk, right? Like, I assume that it isn't always, just going for a walk, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about some of the challenges.
Oh, I mean, every once in a while you run into somebody who's not happy to see you. I mean, I've had flyers thrown back at me. I've been told to get the bleep off my property, and but those are the exceptions. As for the most part, the neighbors are a pleasure to be around, and you get to know people over time. I mean, you get to know, hey, these people are wonderful, and it's great to chat with them. And then there's other people who are just not interested, and part of it is going, you know what, my style and who I am is not for everybody. But there's enough business out there for everybody, and there's enough different personalities, and you kind of work with who you fit with. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Seth Godin is a marketing guru I really enjoy, and he talks about the lowest viable audience, or the smallest viable audience, right? Yeah. And it really is like focus on the people you connect with.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not Coca-Cola.
No.
Right. And you prove it. You've done a very good business that way. Okay. So those are some of the challenges. What are some of the things that the stories that are rewarding to you? You've walked through a neighborhood and you had the opportunity to connect, or to what are some of those stories?
Yeah, so I mean, everything from the business aspect. When I'm in a relationship with somebody for 5-7 years, and years past, they've always been like, Kevin, I'm not ready. Kevin, I'm not ready. And finally, it's the day that I go, you know what, we're starting to think about it. Can you come on in and tell us what we should do at our house to get it ready? So, that's when it's going. All of those times of sowing and all those conversations start to reap a reward in that sense. But then there are definitely things outside of the business too. I mean, there's just people. There's lonely people out there who invite you in to go and chat. I mean, I've prayed for people whose husband was in the hospital, or who just lost a loved one. So there's all these opportunities. There's part of the reason I love the getting out in geographical farming and knocking on people's doors so much is I love the humanity part of real estate. Mm-hmm. And that really allows you to connect with people directly.
Yeah, and I see this is something I think is really critical, and I think you exemplify it so well. To be successful in geographic farming, it isn't about the number of doors, although that's important, right? It's not a burn and churn. It really, truly is. I knocked on the door, and this older woman invited me in to talk, and that may take a good portion of your afternoon, right? But it's not necessarily always about the next sale.
Yeah. Right? It's about the relationships. When I go out and knock on doors, I ask God to say, God, give me the opportunities you want me to have, and whatever those opportunities look like.
Yeah. So. And I love it because you recently brought on a new buyer's agent, and hearing him share what he's learning from you has been really neat, because he'll talk about, I got to find a plumber for this person, And so when I think of Kevin Island Geographic Farming, I think of community building, right?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
We live in these cookie cutter tract homes sometimes, and it can feel very, they aren't the small towns, right? And but it seems like the way you farm, you make a big town or an anonymous tract more of a small town.
Yeah, I love to do that. Yeah. I'd love to be a resource, like you said, with different handymen and whatever.
Yeah, so, absolutely. I love that. So, Kevin, to that end, and I've talked to you a little bit about this personally, but I'd love for you to share it. What are the habits, the routines, the minimums, like your daily standards? What does that look like?
Sure. So one standard that I picked up from our bold classes at Keller Williams in the past is contacting 20 people a day. And so that's been a standard. You can go in my office and there's all these old binders, and you can see probably for the last 8 or 10 years an average of contacting 20 people a day, 5 days a week. I do balance that, though, and take a couple of days off. I mean, I feel it's important to have Sabbath days. It's important to have days with your family.
Yeah. So 20 people a day, and I love that. That is just a consistent day in, day out, 20 people.
Correct.
Now, for you, that's going to be 20 door knockings. Or how does that work?
It's usually about half and half. It's usually about half door knocking, half either phone calls, texts, some note cards, things like that.
So those phone call texts, are those within the farm, or is that your sphere of influence?
Those are more sphere of influence, past clients, things like that.
Cool. I love this, because this is important too. It's not just the farm.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
You've got that. You're not neglecting the database.
I think it's wise that everybody has 2 or 3 different ways that you are looking for business.
Okay.
So, but I don't think it's wise to go out and have 10 different ways, because then you'll be a jack of all trades and master of none.
Right. And it's a point I think we don't make enough in this industry, but in any other industry, specialists are the one who get paid the most.
Yeah.
Right. If you're a doctor and you're a general practitioner, well, you're very valuable and important, but a surgeon gets paid more. Right.
Very true.
And in real estate, you can do very well being a surgeon. So
Yeah.
awesome. So the 20 contacts a day, how do you prepare yourself to do that? I mean, because I'll be honest, there's a lot of people, like I said, even with farming, Kevin, you have a dedication and a consistency that most people would love to have, but they don't have. I don't know, is it grit? I don't know. How do you stay with it?
I don't know. I mean, God's just given me a perseverant spirit.
Okay.
I look at other people and see other people who are successful in real estate, and a lot of them have a certain flash, a certain charm about them. I don't know if I didn't get as much of those when I was in that line in heaven, but what I did get is grit and perseverance and a heart that just cares for people. And so I use the way that God's wired me best, and work within that capacity. I mean, there are days, and there's days where I mean to go out and farm, and I don't. I mean, I'm like everybody else. You have those days, and you go, I only contacted 10 people today, so I'm gonna have to pick it up the rest of the week. So, but there's those balances, and so much of it for me is it's taking that first step. Is once I get in the car and drive out and take that first step, then the rest of it's going to do it. It's like in the past, there's times where I've ran in life. I've taken up jogging, and it's that first step out the door. Once you get that first step out of the door, the rest of it just comes naturally.
Yeah.
So,
and I think again, you are a great example of that compounding effort, right? Because every day you call 10 or 20 people, it isn't home runs every day.
Correct.
Right. My guess is there's probably been days where you nothing. You just or even a stretch of days, right?
Correct. Yeah.
But it's just it's sort of like an index fund. You just continue to put money in the fund, right? And you just trust that it's eventually
consistent over time.
You're going to hit that curve, and it's going to pay. And I think it has, right?
Yeah.
If you were if you were going to be talking to a brand new agent who was looking to have a consistent business, what would you tell them?
I would say those contacts are so important. I would say coaching is super important. When I started out, I had a mentor agent that mentored me through my first 3 transactions. Teamwork. Most of the time when I've been out geographical farming, I've had somebody with me. And so to have that partner who, especially on the days when you don't have it, and they're like, come on, we're going, to have that camaraderie, and because some days you're going to be the one dragging them along with you, and it's going to be vice versa. So having that teamwork,
I love that. That's great, and there's an awareness of, it's like a training buddy, right? That way, if you want to get in shape, get a training buddy. You want to start running,
there's that accountability to go. You know what? It's not just my life. I'm impacting this other person's life as well, and if neither of us, if I'm gonna drag my feet, then I'm dragging down their business as well.
Now, is there anything? So, if that was a brand new agent, say I'm an agent, I'm sitting at 12 units a year, right? Which is a great business, right? But what would you tell someone who's looking to break through to kind of ascend to that next level?
So for me, it was the consistency, and it was discovering what methods of prospecting worked for me, and that turned out to be the geographical farming. And another huge thing I think is leverage. When you get to a level and you realize, hey, you get to a ceiling of what you can accomplish on your own. Right. And so it's really wise, and I know most people's natural tendency is to bring in a buyer's agent, but I strongly believe that it's important to bring in administrative help first. And so when I was around that in the units in the teens, I think the thing that brought me from being in the teens to the 20s, 30s, 40s, or 50s is getting that administrative help. And it was a risk, and there was sacrifice involved in doing that. There were some things I had to pull back on for my family temporarily to do that, but that has paid off in the long run, because it's freed me up to be able to be out with people.
Okay, I want to explore that a little bit because I do run into this quite a bit.
Sure.
Where I'll be talking to agents who are looking for breakthrough, and their mindset around building a team is, well, I want a buyer's agent because I don't want to go show houses anymore, right? But you just said your difference maker was hiring an admin.
Absolutely.
Now, I think one of the reasons people don't do that is you can hire a buyer's agent and not pay them anything.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Yeah.
And so, but you went the other route. You got an admin, which is what I would say is, I would agree with you. I think that is a more powerful. But what was the, why? Why was that better for you?
Well, and I would say it's better for most people. It's following the KW millionaire real estate model is
Okay.
what it's doing. And because the tasks that an administrator can help you with are tasks that are the ones that are taking the most time away from you and are the least dollar productive tasks.
Yeah.
And so if I go out and I'm paying a buyer's agent to help me, I'm probably paying that buyer's agent $60, $70, $80 an hour to help me when in the long run. Now, it's not directly, it's through commissions, and I don't have any personal risk, but most administrators you're going to be able to hire for less than that.
Yeah.
And it's a win-win.
I love that. So you're taking the low value activities, that are unlicensed agent work,
Correct.
and you're giving it to somebody who's going to be working at a lower dollar figure.
Absolutely,
Right. What are some of the things? Because I know there are people listening right now who just leaned in. Right.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that your admin does for you that
Absolutely.
frees you up?
So, so the admin does the TCing, the transaction coordinating. The admin, a huge thing for me is phones. The admin answers the phone so that I don't get interrupted in my prospecting times, in my conversations. The admin does a lot of the advertising, prints up flyers. So just all of the behind the scenes sort of things that the paperwork trail, all the online uploading things to the multiple listing service, all of those things that can free me up so that I can be out with people.
Right.
So.
And I want to go back to so something you said there was so critical, and it's a mindset thing of the phones so that I can focus on the prospecting.
Correct.
Right. Which, so the difference maker is me doing my lead generation time and really literally investing in that.
Correct.
Right?
And being uninterrupted during that time.
Right.
So
awesome.
Yeah.
What about scheduling things like photography or inspections or? Is your admin okay.
They would do all that.
Okay.
They can schedule all the inspections, photography.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So to an agent who's hovering in the teens, if to get to the 20s or past the 20s, it is really saying to someone, listen, you do these things so I can focus on getting more leads.
Sure.
And converting those leads to contracts, those contracts to close sales.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And if you're not ready to pull somebody on full time, it might be wise to talk to another agent in the office, and maybe the two of you can split an admin.
Yeah.
For that time. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that is now okay. So this opens up a whole other avenue of conversation, but I'm excited about it. To become an excellent realtor is one set of skills. To lead a team is another set of skills.
Correct.
So tell me about there must have been a learning curve when you brought on that first admin or when you went that route. How just like there was traction in the farm, took some time. Tell me about learning to lead people.
There is a learning curve, and there still is. I mean, I'm still learning daily, whether it's real estate or working as a team leader within my my team. There's still that growth, and so learning. What is the proper amount of training? And I still fall short on that and still have to go back and apologize to my admin. Sorry, I didn't get that to you. Let's do this together. It's a growth. And I think that very similar to like the farming and that return on investment, I would say probably the first 3 to 6 months you have an admin, you're going to go backwards a little bit. You've got to take those 2 steps backwards to go 3 steps forward. And I have to know that as I'm hiring. I might be doing another hire later this year, and I know that, hey, I'm going to have to pull back a little bit on my business in order to bring this person into the fold and get them to where the leverage of having them on the team is going to be worthwhile.
Yeah,
so.
that mindset of investment, I think, is a critical differentiator, because I've talked to a number of agents who they want their hires, their teammates, to read their minds. right? Or they say, I need to do X, Y, and Z. But they don't understand, they don't even think that to do X, Y, and Z, they needed to know all these other steps before,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
And, to have that mindset of there's going to be a little period of time where I'm investing. Now, it's not maybe, it's money, but it's also a little loss in productivity.
It's time. It's time, and time is money. And,
right. There's that chart. I love the chart where, you hit the ceiling, boom, you make a change, you want instant, you expect it to go up, and then it doesn't. And most people bail here.
Correct.
But for you, staying with that, and then boom, that's what's brought you.
Yeah, you got to stay the course.
Yeah,
So.
And it's a very similar mindset that's enabled you to be successful in farming as well.
Yeah.
Right. It's that knowledge, that I love it. That spirit of, what did you say? It was a spirit of
perseverance or grit.
Yeah, perseverance. Yeah. I love that. That's great. Okay, Kevin, so we mentioned the market you got into, and that was the REO market, challenging.
Correct.
We're in a unique market right now, too.
Sure. Yeah.
So what do you see as the challenges in this market right now?
I'd say because there are so few listings right now, it's a hyper-competitive market for listings. Mm-hmm. And so I've got to step up my game as far as being ready when I'm going on a listing appointment, and to go into those with confidence, and to go in with a skill set as an expert in the market, and to show the buyers the value, because there are many discount agents out there. There are many people, everybody's jumping for the same piece of pie as far as listings.
Okay.
So it's super competitive.
Absolutely. And so, there's always another side, right? The challenges are listings are in short supply. There's more competition for them. What are the opportunities in this market?
Absolutely. So, when you when you finally get that listing, it's a gold mine. There's times, when I got into the market, I don't know what the percentage of listings that expired were, but I'm guessing that number was probably like 30 or 40% of listings expired without selling.
Wow.
Now it seems like, my own personal numbers seem to be like 95% or higher, and that's kind of what I'm seeing across the market. So once your foot's in the door, if you will, it's close to guaranteed.
Yeah.
That it's gonna work out. So,
yeah.
So that's a challenge, and then also just working. Something that's a challenge for me is going to sellers and really painting a clear picture of what it's going to look like to find that replacement home. I feel like there's a lot of agents I see, and I run into what I call orphan buyers, where an agent has gone out and sold their house and left these people high and dry because they didn't give them the plan to how are you going to get into the next house, how difficult is it going to be to get in the next house, what can I do as far as preparing you for a contingent sale so that you're not homeless and living with your family for the next 8 months.
Yeah.
So.
No, and that is absolutely a reality, right? Because what is the number one objection from sellers right now, too? Well, where are we going to go?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And so the opportunity in your mind is to be able to come in with clarity.
And chart that course out for them. Here's steps A through Z. Here's how we're going to get you there. Here's what we're going to do to protect you so that you're not homeless and you don't run into these issues.
Yep, absolutely. I love that. So we've kind of covered the beginning. We've covered the career as to where we are, and I love the mindset conversation we've had and the leadership conversation. So the concluding question is, what's next? Where's Kevin Allen and the Restory team going?
Sure. So I would love someday to have a team of 15 or 20 people on the team. I'd love to do that. I am not a fast growth type of person, so I'm more of a slow growth type of person. So it's one at a time. When God opens the right doors and there's the right person, then it makes sense to bring them on. So, as those doors open, I'd love to do that. The more people that we can be a blessing to, the better. It's fun to do. I could even see the buyer's agent I have right now has talked about in the future of opening an expansion team in another city down the road. So, it's the sky's the limit as far as doing that. But in the process, I don't want to lose the human touch. I don't want to lose the, we're here for you. We're going to be here for you every step of the way. Even when you call me 6 years after you bought the house and a problem's come up, I want to be the person that's still there for them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I love it. You do such a good job in that process of really it's systemizing Kevin Allen. right? It's standardizing Kevin Allen and that mindset, that pastor's heart that you bring to it, right?
Correct, yeah.
How do we systemize, how do we standardize that so that if they're interacting with the Kevin Allen Restory team here in Riverside metro area, or maybe down south in Temecula Valley or San Diego,
Correct, yeah.
it's the same.
The same heart comes through.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, Kevin, it's been a great conversation, and thank you so much for sharing. I fully and completely intend to bring you back, so we can get into some even deeper into the nitty gritty on some of this, because you've got so much to share. So thank you for the time. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Take care.
All right. Thanks. Okay. Bye-bye. Cool. All right.